It's Liz. I'm just saying hi again. Hi. Um, yeah. So, I guess sort of this is an update, but I did kind of want to ramble about something that is not a super fully formed thought. So, just FYI. I wanted to talk about queer and autistic masking and how similar they are, just because it is something I've been thinking about a lot. But yeah. Hi. The air quality is better. Last video I made, it was still hazardous, I think. Now it's actually probably good today. I haven't checked in a few days because it's been good. We've been getting rain. I cut my hair badly again. This part is driving me crazy because it doesn't fit under my ear. I think it'll stay there for a second, but then it'll be like. So I did kind of a crappy job, and I don't think I'm gonna fix it anymore. So that's where I'm at with that. That's honestly kind of a good metaphor for my life. Uh, so yeah, why do I want to talk about queer and autistic masking? Because it's been really stressful this last year or so. It's been really stressful. I've had a lot of really challenging things happening, and that's, you know, not not just the big major disasters that have happened, especially centering around where I live. Um, it's been a lot. It's been a lot. Um, it's been enough for me to kind of break, I guess, in terms of like not being able to continue masking in certain ways that I didn't even realize that I was because I had gotten so used to it. And that's the real danger of masking. And I mean that with respect both to my being autistic and being queer. Um, and that's not to say that I was like ever denying that I was those things or not out about those things. Although like at this point, I don't even really know how many people I know actually know that I'm queer. I don't really care, which is, I mean, I don't really bring it up typically. And it doesn't really come up because I'm married to a man. So, but yeah, it's not really about me like consciously being like, I am not those things and I'm going to present myself as not being those things. It's not that at all. Um, it's more like the sum of a lot of small concessions that we make or efforts that we make to fit in and to keep other people comfortable, really. Habits we get into, habits of presenting ourselves, and habits of how we interact, and it even starts to go down to habits of how we think about ourselves and um, how we kind of conceptualize ourselves. Like, it's just, I don't know, with autistic identity, or I don't even put it in terms of identity because it's not really about identity per se. It's more about like just the fact that I'm autistic, and that means certain things about me, and that's going to make it so that there's a certain way. Um, Sorry, this is like, I'm not sure this is the best way to put it, but there's like a certain way that I can exist naturally as an autistic person, ways that I interact, ways that I process interactions, um, you know, ways that I emote naturally versus kind of what's expected of me to emote. all kinds of things, you know, so many little things. I haven't prepared a list or whatever, because most of it's stuff it's hard to kind of pull out of a hat because I don't think about it most of the time. And I haven't had to think about it in such a long time. I feel like my autistic mask has stayed in place for 10 to 15 years until now, when suddenly I'm having to recognize in the last year or so that, like, now I can have meltdowns, and now, you know, I am in serious danger of burnout. And so I really, and it's not even a choice, honestly, that the mask slipping off, it's not a choice, because honestly what happened is I just got too exhausted to maintain it. I got too exhausted to do work that I didn't even realize I was doing, which is kind of a trip. I mean, at least it forces me to recognize what was there. And you know, it's the same thing for my queer masking. It's the same thing. Since I got married to a man, I've kind of pressured myself to, like, I mean, I knew that I couldn't truly become like a femme straight woman, but I kind of thought that I could pivot myself more in that direction, that I could kind of, like, go through the motions and at least present the image. But it was more than that too. I really kind of felt like that would somehow transform me as well. And for a while I really did feel different, and I don't know totally why that is, but I did feel I don't know. I mean, I felt like it was natural for me to be femme, I guess, at the time. I was also pretty depressed. So, I don't know. But, you know, after I had my daughter, and especially after she became a toddler, and all of the, it's very stressful to be an autistic parent of a toddler, you know? Like, it's really overstimulating all the time, for starters. I mean, there's just a lot of layers of it, right? So it put on a lot of stress, specifically on those parts of me that are kind of vulnerable because I'm autistic. Those parts of, like, those brain functions, you know. And so as I get more and more exhausted, it's just like I can't really, I can't go through the motions anymore. Like, I don't have the energy to present myself that way. You know, like, I don't have the energy to do the sort of theater of acting like a straight woman. I've realized for a lot of people, you don't even really know what I mean. And I don't mean acting like a, you know, like a lesbian or bisexual stereotype. You know, I don't mean that, but there are real differences to the ways that, like, feminine straight women and queer women tend to express themselves and, like, just kind of exist. I don't really know how to explain it. Like, if you're not queer, you might not get it. But there's a difference. There's a real difference. And I really tried to do that, and it was really hard for me, because even since I was a little kid, man, I really screwed this up. Even since I was a little kid, like, I knew, I always felt like an other when I was around a bunch of very feminine, very straight women. And there's probably a number of reasons for that. Like, I feel like autism and queerness intersect in this way. That they're not independent of one another, right? Because so many autistic people are queer. It's such a higher proportion than other populations. And I think I don't know what the reasons for that are exactly. I mean, I have thoughts, but they're not really independent of each other. And it's like my feelings of discomfort being around a bunch of like normative straight women might have also been because they're all neurotypical. So, but I know part of it is like a gender sexuality thing, and part of it was because I could always tell that they knew I was different. And when I was fairly young, like in middle school and high school, I was already being sort of pointed out as, a lesbian, and already kind of getting a lot of that, like to the getting a lot of that. What's the word? Sorry, what is the word? Gay panic from straight women, and straight girls really at the time, and it makes you feel really like super uncomfortable in that setting, because not only because you don't want somebody to react to you that way by getting all freaked out because they think that you want to have sex with them or whatever, which you don't, because I don't know, I'm super unattracted to straight girls. But also, like, it makes you feel kind of like a monster. Like, you internalize it. And it makes you feel like an outcast and a monster, just kind of being there, taking up space, disturbing the precious space of the nice, feminine, straight women. So, I don't know, I guess I just kind of indulged in this fantasy for a few years there that, like, I could be one of them if I just tried harder. And like I said, I kind of started to pull it off. I think people started to see me that way. And I had long hair, and I was dressed differently, and I was not using body language in the same way, because the natural way for me to use body language reads as a little more masculine. So I was doing the whole thing, and again, I seemed to pull it off. It's just that, like, yeah, once there was anything else that I had to do, I couldn't keep doing it. Like, I couldn't keep the ball in the air, I just can't. I have limits. So now it's like, I don't know. I don't even know what it is now. I've just given up. But yeah, like, both autistic and queer masking, I'm realizing now that I can no longer maintain those masks, that it's really, really damaging. Like, it really messed me up. Because of the insidious nature of it, because it allowed me to kind of pretend it. Well, yeah, it warped my sense of self, because there's kind of this weird feedback loop when you are acting in that way, that, like, if you convince others, you kind of start to convince yourself. I think it's probably there's probably no way around that. I mean, I hear that about, like, people who go undercover or that kind of thing, that, like, the line between your character and yourself becomes so intertwined that you can't just separate them anymore. I guess that's kind of how I feel about these images that I created for myself, trying to live up to or project, that I internalized them, and they robbed me of a genuine authentic sense of self. They robbed me of the truth. And the truth is always the most stable foundation for anything. It's no good trying to build your life on a lie, even if it's a verisimilitude. So yeah, that's where I'm at now, and I am still trying to figure out what comes next, because, you know, if you're not going to try to assimilate, how do you relate to other people? How do you connect with the larger collective? How do you present yourself? Because I think even if we're being very true to ourselves, we still do kind of have to, I mean, I guess ideally, if we're being really true to ourselves and we're being in community with other people, we want to be able to communicate the truth about who we are in a way that the people around us can understand. And I don't just mean the truth of, like, I'm autistic or I'm gay, but, like, the truth of, what that means and how that's really expressed through us. And just have that, like, find a way for that to be something that's approachable, you know? So it still requires some kind of, like, editing of our image, right? But what's the editing process, I guess? So I'm stuck there. Let me know if you have any thoughts, and, subscribe and like and do all that good stuff. Or don't. Honestly, I'm kind of at a point with this project where I've decided I really don't care about trying to get views. Not because I'm so cool or whatever, because I'm so based, like the kids say these days, but because I just don't have the energy to do anything except occasionally ramble in my laptop camera. And that's just gonna be what it is. Apparently some people like it, so I aim to please. Alright, bye.